I thought today we could talk about the Candyman. Today's story takes place in Deer Park, Texas. A man by the name of Ronald O'Brien lived with his wife, Diane, and their 2 children, a son named Timothy and their daughter named Elizabeth. Ronald worked as an optician at Texas State Optical in Sharpstown, Houston. Ronald also was a deacon at the Second Baptist Church, where he also sang in the choir, and he was in charge of the local bus program. He seemed like a great man in the community, but you know what they say, the great ones are the most suspicious. So then Halloween night comes around, October 31st, 1974. Ronald decided to take his 2 children trick-or-treating in Pasadena, Texas, to this different neighborhood. I mean, it wasn't too far from where he lived. You know how you go to the more expensive neighborhoods because they usually give out the good candy? The full Snickers bars, not the minis. That's what they were doing. So Ronald and his 2 children, right? They go trick-or-treating. They also take their neighbor and his 2 children. Little hangout time with the neighbor. I need that. So the kids are all excited and they run up to their next home. How come with nails all of a sudden I feel sassy, like I want to point at everything? Over there. So they go running up to the door and they knock. Trick or treat, oh my God. But the house looked empty. There was no one inside. The lights were all off. It was kind of dark in this home, so the kids are just waiting though. Because sometimes just because the lights are off doesn't mean that nobody's home. So they're just waiting. Wind blowing, a little bit of drizzles coming down because it's raining a little bit. They realize that nobody's home, so of course the kids get all antsy and they run off. And they head to their next home. Now, Ronald decides to stay behind. I don't know how to do this. So then a few minutes later, Ronald comes back. He eventually caught up with the group and showed off 5 21-inch pixie sticks, which he said he got from that house that everyone abandoned. How am I going to do this and talk? This is going to be a nightmare. Okay, anyways, back to the story. Ronald caught up with the group and showed off 5 21-inch pixie stick, which he said someone at the house actually answered. Ronald's like, you guys should have waited a little longer because this guy's giving out 21-inch pixie sticks. He's making it rain pixie sticks. So, of course, the kids are all excited because, hey, those are some big-ass pixie sticks. Cool. Sugar. At the end of the night, Ronald gave his neighbor's children, there was 2 of them, he gave them each a pixie stick, and then he gave one to his son, Timothy, and one to Elizabeth, his daughter. Let me do this liner. Probably as good as we're gonna get. So once they were home, someone came to the door, and they were, knocking. It's still Halloween night. It was some kids. They were trick-or-treating. And it was a 10-year-old boy who went to the church Ronald worked at. So once he recognized this little boy, he was like, oh, I have some candy to give you. Some pixie sticks. I got these from the neighbor, but they're leftover. I can give them to these kids. So he gives the kid, I think it's only one kid, I apologize. He gives the kid a pixie stick and then sends him on his way. So once they got all settled in and at home, the kids, naturally, they want to eat their candy right away. And they ask their dad, Ronald, can we eat the candy, please? And Ronald, being the great parent that he is, was like, sure, you can have a piece of candy, but only one. And then tomorrow you can go ham and eat 3 pieces, But tonight, you can only eat 1 piece of candy. So Ronald actually picked out the pixie stick for Timothy to eat. I don't know what his daughter picked because she didn't have a pixie stick. It was just Timothy. So he's like, here, eat this pixie stick. Which, by the way, I don't know why you would pick a pixie stick for your child because it's just straight sugar and your kid's going to be wired and up all night. That's a terrible idea. So little old Timothy, he's excited. He rips open that pixie stick. He tries to pour it into his mouth, but you know how pixie sticks are. They kind of stick. They get stuck, all the powder. Timothy's trying to pour it into his mouth, but it's stuck. So Ronald comes over and helps out Timothy. He's kind of like wiggling the packaging so he could get it into his mouth. So finally, they wiggle that candy right out into Timothy's mouth. And then Timothy, right away, he complained that candy tasted really gross, bitter, and kind of just nasty. He was like, But he still ate it because kids will be kids and they like candy. So Ronald was like, here, have some of my Kool-Aid to wash that bitter taste out of your mouth. So this kid is just having a lot of sugar. Now, a couple minutes later, poor old Timothy starts complaining that he has a tummy ache. So his stomach's hurting. He's feeling really sick. He's like, Daddy, I don't feel so hot. And then not long after, Timothy runs to the bathroom and he just starts throwing up all over the place. Then Timothy falls to the ground and he starts convulsing on the ground. What the hell's going on? So Ronald comes running in because he hears that Timothy is just throwing up. He hears like a loud noise because Timothy just like fell on the ground. So Ronald comes there to try and comfort him. Ronald said that Timothy just went limp in his arms. It's unclear who called 911, but 911 was called. Paramedics arrive and they're going to take Timothy to the hospital. But sadly, poor little Timothy, he died before he reached the hospital. Yeah, let's try and do this crazy liner, I said. It'll be fun, I said. It's so hard. Poor little Timothy died before he reached the hospital. So, of course, because it's a small town, news got out that poor little Timothy had died from what they believed was poisoned Halloween candy. And naturally, all the parents panicked. Any of us would. Parents took all of their kids' Halloween candy. I can't even open this. How do you function with these nails? Did I really not take into consideration how hard this was going to be? A nail just popped off. Parents took all of their kids' candy, but all the kids were pissed. I mean, it's Halloween and I don't even get to eat my candy? Ugh. Why did Timothy have to die and ruin it for all of us, is what they're thinking. I mean, they're children. They're very full of themselves. And police were accepting all of the candy because they wanted to see how much candy out there was poisoned. And hopefully kind of put the pieces together and figure out, was it just pixie sticks? Was it in all of the candy? Please give us all of your candy. So the parents just took everything and dropped it off at the police station. Now, luckily, all of the candy was taken and brought to the police officers, and they were able to prevent anybody else from dying because all of the candy was taken quickly. And plus, with kids, I mean, when you get a bag of candy, a pixie stick isn't going to be your first choice. Thank God. The police officers did notice that whoever was responsible for this was very just kind of sloppy. They opened up the pixie stick, they put whatever it was inside of it, and then they stapled it closed. So they were looking for any candy that had a staple on it, and it was only the pixie sticks. They found 6 of them that had this staple on them. So naturally, police go to Ronald and they're like, okay, show us the house. Take us to the neighborhood. Take us to the house that gave you this goddamn pixie stick. But Ronald was stumped. He just couldn't seem to find the house and point it out to police officers. He couldn't exactly remember where it was. And he also said that he never saw the face of the person responsible. He said that a hand just emerged from the doorway, handed him the candy, and he didn't see who it was. Ronald went on to say that the homeowner did not turn on the lights, but cracked the door and handed them the 5 pixie sticks. And he claimed that he only saw a man's arm, which he described as hairy.